Lin Fan had pulled 49 all-nighters in a row. Yeah, seriously. You'd think by the year 3020, the age of overworked office drones would be ancient history. But nope, Lin Fan was still dying from overtime, venting daily to the king of hell, only to be sent back every time with, "You've got way too much hair to be a real programmer." While he snored away, a strange, eerie presence crept silently toward his window. The next morning, his alarm went off for what felt like the thousandth time. One look at the screen, crap, late again. In a flurry, he grabbed his stuff and bolted out the door, unaware that some things in his apartment were vanishing, quietly, one by one. Even while washing his face, the water got sucked straight into a weird black orb that had mysteriously appeared in his palm. But Lin Fan, too busy panicking about being late, didn't notice a thing. He finally managed to hail a ride, only to get stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Drowsiness hit him like a freight train. His eyelids grew heavy, and then everything went dark. When he opened his eyes again, he was floating in the depths of space. Before him, scattered particles began swirling and merging together. In the blink of an eye, they formed an entire planet. The searing heat faded. The planet cooled down. Then, boom, a massive water sphere crashed onto the surface. Within seconds, rivers carved through the land. A heartbeat later, an entire ocean came into being, and just moments after that, green life began to sprout across the surface. Lin Fan floated above the planet like some cosmic god, curiously observing everything below, until the scene suddenly shifted to a dense forest. There, tucked among the trees, he spotted something weirdly familiar. Wait, wasn't that the potted plant from his apartment? Before he could process it, a rustling sound came from the tree above. What the? Why is there a rhinoceros beetle the size of a dog? That did it. Lin Fan snapped awake, heart pounding. He glanced out the window. He was already at the office. Was that whole space trip just a dream? He rushed in right on time, barely catching his breath, only to be immediately summoned to the manager's office. Lu Xiangdong, the ever-grumpy boss, was already mid-rant. "But I clocked in exactly on time." Lin Fan protested. Lu rolled his eyes. "We moved the meeting to 8:30 last Friday." "What? Did you dream through that too?" Lu Xiangdong kept rambling on like a broken record, and Lin Fan, already pissed off, felt something snap inside him. As the insults got nastier, he slammed his hand on the desk. "I quit." He didn't even bother responding to all that, "The company's been good to you. You kids don't know gratitude," nonsense. He just said flatly, "I'll hand in my resignation right after this." Then casually asked, "When can I go to HR for my final paycheck?" Lu's reply stopped him cold. "No paycheck. You're not getting last month's salary either." "What?" Lin Fan's voice rose with fury. "You're seriously robbing me on the way out?" Lu chuckled and tossed a contract onto the floor. "Sign it yourself. Read the fine print. Now get out, or I'm calling security." Lin Fan stared down at the predatory contract scattered across the ground. He remembered how Lu tricked him into joining, all smiles and fake promises. He hadn't even read the contract back then. The rage exploded. No more holding back. With a roar, Lin Fan lunged forward and lifted the 400-pound blob of a boss clean off the ground. The moment Lu Xiangdong sensed Lin Fan's killing intent, and that inhuman strength, he panicked, flailing like a fish out of water. "Wait. Okay, let's talk this out." But just then, a voice echoed in Lin Fan's head. It was the same monstrous beetle from his dream, whispering, "Finish him." A sharp breath snapped him back to reality. The madness passed in an instant. He looked down at Lu, now reduced to a begging mess on the floor. Without another word, Lin Fan calmly took what he was owed and walked out of the office without looking back. But as soon as the door shut behind him, Lu Xiangdong pulled out his phone and made a call to someone unknown. Back home, Lin Fan finally noticed something chilling. His potted plant and the giant beetle were both gone. He rubbed his temples, sighing, "Great, I'm officially losing it." But then he looked down at his palm. That strange black orb was still there, pulsing faintly. And this time he had no idea how to explain it. Lin Fan stared at the black orb in his palm. the source of everything strange. His mind sank once more into that surreal planet. It hit him like a thunderclap. None of it was a dream. Just then, he noticed something disturbing. The missing houseplant was being broken down by the blacklight and drifting toward the alien world. It was as if the entire landscape was being formed by devouring that one little plant. And even more insane, Lin Fan realized he could control the world with just his thoughts. With a single wave of his hand, the land split apart like Moses parting the sea. That's when something clicked. The giant beetle from his dream this morning? That was the black herb's doing too. It had invaded his subconscious, pushing his emotions out of control. But it had also absorbed DNA traits from various life forms, boosting Lin Fan's physical capabilities. The beetle, for instance, had monstrous strength and an armor-like shell. If Lin Fan inherited that, he could probably take a punch to the face and the other guy would be the one getting hospitalized. No wonder he'd lifted that 400-pound boss like it was nothing. The orb wasn't just messing with his head, it was rewriting his body. Still lost in thought, Lin Fan suddenly had an idea. He pointed at a tiny spider on his windowsill and pulled it into his palm using the black orb. With a snap of his fingers, something changed inside him. His fingertips grew tiny retractable barbs. Thankfully, he could control them at will. Phew, good thing I'm not shooting webs out of my wrists. Or I'd have Marvel lawyers at my door, he muttered. Just as the thought left his mouth, bang, bang, bang. Someone was pounding on his front door with serious force. Lin Fan frowned. Who the hell knocks like that at night? Then came the voice that made his blood run cold. Paranormal Investigation Bureau. Open up. It wasn't the name that shocked him. Everyone in the 30th century knew the PIB. They dealt with supernatural threats or anything too abnormal to explain. Lin Fan's mind raced. Had he already been flagged? Were they here to drag him off for testing? With a deep breath and a firm decision to play dumb no matter what, Lin Fan opened the door point. 3 young-looking men stood outside, flashing IDs from the Paranormal Investigation Bureau. The lead agent, Li Junming, got straight to the point. They'd received a report that a black light had crashed into this floor last night. If Lin Fan had seen anything unusual, any signs of paranormal activity, he was required to report it. Don't worry, Li added. We'll handle everything. Just keep us informed. Lin Fan put on his best clueless face. Black light? Nope. Everything's totally normal here. He reached for the door, ready to shut it. But Li suddenly stopped the door with one hand. Lin Fan panicked. Crap, did they find out? And, holy hell, how strong is this guy? Instead of busting in, Li simply handed over a small card. This is our contact info, he said seriously. Take it, just in case. Then, just like that, all 3 stood at attention, saluted politely, and turned to leave. Lin Fan stood there in stunned silence. Wait, that's it. Still, the business card looked pretty official. Fancy design, thick paper, even had a faint metallic sheen. On the front, it read, "Please turn over and read carefully." Lin Fan casually flipped it while sipping water. And the second he saw the lines on the back, he spit his drink everywhere. Next thing he knew, it was past midnight, and he was driving 30 kilometers toward the address on the card. Not wanting to drive the whole way, he flagged down a cab. But the second he mentioned his destination, Fangzhou District, the driver nearly passed out at the wheel. Lin Fan awkwardly explained, "Relax, I'm just taking bus 11 out to the countryside." The driver turned pale. "Dude, bus 11? That line's been shut down for over 10 years. Lin Fan opened his mouth to explain, but the driver slammed the brakes, shoved him out of the car, then floored it like he was fleeing a horror movie. Lin Fan stood there in the middle of the street, totally dumbfounded, hair tousled by the cold night wind. With no cab willing to take him, Lin Fan had no choice but to hop on a shared bike and pedal his way to the destination. Why was he doing this in the dead of night anyway? It all came back to that business card the paranormal investigation guys gave him. On the back, aside from those cryptic lines, there was a time and place, midnight, Route 11 bus terminal. Your contact will find you. Just like that, they'd handed him what sounded suspiciously like a job offer. Lin Fan couldn't tell if they were recruiting random weirdos off the street, or if they actually knew something about what was happening to him. He Googled like mad, only to find a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, horror blogs, and sketchy forums. But one thing was clear: if he wanted answers about the black orb in his hand, he had to go. At least take a look. Meanwhile, back at the Paranormal Investigation Bureau, the three agents were casually chatting about Lin Fan. "I sensed a flicker of power in him," said Captain Li Jinming. "Faint, almost non-existent. But considering last night's phenomenon, that black light that felt like falling into the abyss just by looking at it, and now it's gone, right where Lin Fan lives. We have to bring him in, at least give it a shot. The only question is, does he have the guts to actually show up at that place alone?" Midnight. Sure enough, Lin Fan arrived at the rumored haunted graveyard, where three tall men were already waiting. Without warning, Lin Fan pulled out a pistol and aimed it straight at the leader's head. But instead of reacting with anger, the man smiled warmly. "Glad you made it. Welcome aboard." Lin Fan sighed and tucked away the plastic toy gun. "What kind of free company makes you report to a graveyard at midnight?" Li Jinming shrugged. "You passed the test. You're in." Whoa. Lin Fan raised a brow. "I never agreed to join anything. I just came to see what this ability user stuff is all about." The three men exchanged smug glances. "Guess you don't know much about the perks or your future coworker's power." With that, Li Jinming casually waved at a nearby metal street sign. The thick alloy post twisted like a pretzel with a loud metallic groan. Lin Fan's eyes went wide. "What the hell?" Li Jinming turned, striking a dramatic pose. "Tour's over. Let's roll." A few minutes later, Lin Fan was already regretting life choices. This ragged a place was the Paranormal Investigation Bureau. This was nothing like the secret government facility he imagined. Before he could process the scam, Li Jinming yanked him into a freaking noodle shop. The moment they sat down, Li waved for the waiter. "Braised beef noodles. No beef. No oil." Lin Fan stared into the void, questioning his entire existence. This was the elite supernatural agency. Why did it feel more like a broke street gang on lunch break? "Wait, don't tell me. You three are the only ability users here?" Li Jinming frowned. "Come on. Binhai City's huge. Of course there are more of us." Lin Fan sighed in relief. "Okay, good. I'm not totally doomed." "Including you," Li added seriously, "there are 6 of us total." Lin Fan nearly spit noodles across the table. "I should have just stayed home and grown vegetables. Seriously, how many people are in this agency? Stop messing with me." Li suddenly got serious. "You think ability users grow on trees? If they were common, we wouldn't be scouting random civilians like you." Still dazed, Lin Fan muttered, "Okay, fine. So who are the other members?" Li just smirked and glanced toward the door. "You'll meet them soon enough." Suddenly, the purple-haired, glasses-wearing guy, Su Mu, slammed his hands on the table. "Energy spike from target 003, he announced. Lin Fan blinked. What's 003? But the trio was already halfway out the door. Within seconds, they were fully geared up like some secret task force. "Hey, wait, you're forgetting someone. I haven't even gotten in the car yet." Once again, Lin Fan stood alone, in the wind. He turned around, and of course, that same rusty, miserable bicycle was waiting for him. On one side, a cursed graveyard crawling with ghost stories. On the other, a couple making out like it was the set of a midnight soap opera. The guy and girl had clearly come here for ahem thrills, but their romantic vibe got absolutely wrecked by a distant roar of pedaling fury. Lin Fan had chased the others all the way here, legs burning, just as he stopped to breathe. He overheard, "Wow, that single dude's really out here grinding, huh?" And just like that, Lin Fan appeared silently behind them. Face pale, voice cold. "You two do know this place is haunted, right? We found several bodies." The couple froze, clearly thinking he was just trying to scare them. Lin Fan kept going, dead serious. "They all died in pairs. Young, romantic, screaming. Every single one, mouths wide open like they were begging for help. Ghost loves targeting couples. The messier, the better." He waved a hand like some tired uncle. "Go home. Save yourselves." Then he hopped back on his legendary, creaky old bike and rode off. Whistling like this was just another Tuesday. Meanwhile, the guy Lin Fan had just roasted was still fuming, grumbling curses under his breath. But something about the way Lin Fan said it, so serious, so specific, it was starting to get to him. He turned to the girl beside him and muttered, "Maybe you should head back, just in case." Back on the road, Lin Fan had only ridden a short distance when he suddenly slammed on the brakes. The air had changed, a thick, coppery stench of blood mixed with a nauseating rot. And then, a blood-curdling scream tore through the night behind him. His heart sank. Target 003, it had gone for the couple. He froze. He was alone. No sign of the others. He'd only just awakened, barely stronger than the average gym bro. Charging it now? That was suicide. And it's not like that couple was exactly wholesome. Why throw his life away for them? But as he turned to leave, something twisted in his gut. Could he really just walk away? Let someone die? Gritting his teeth, Lin Fan spun his bike around and raced toward the screams. The girl from earlier was now slumped on the ground, eyes wide with utter despair. That thing, whatever it was, had slapped her boyfriend to death with a single swing. Terror gripped her so hard she couldn't even twitch. Frozen solid, Lin Fan arrived just in time to see the nightmare unfold. The guy was a goner. And whatever this creature was, Lin wasn't sure he could last 10 seconds against it. Thinking fast, he grabbed the girl's hand. "Come on, we've got to run." But her legs had completely given out. She couldn't even stand. And now the creature, Target 003, was charging at them with terrifying speed. Desperate, Lin Fan's eyes darted around, looking for a brick or anything to fight with. But before he could grab it, the girl suddenly jolted to life, screamed, and shoved him backward with surprising strength. Then she turned and sprinted like her life depended on it. Lin Fan hit the ground, dazed, staring after her in disbelief. "Are you kidding me? I came back to save you, and you ditched me." The creature closed in and drove its clawed hand straight through Lin Fan's stomach. His expression froze, utter disbelief etched across his face. Watching the woman he had tried to save vanish into the night, all he felt was a deep, surreal absurdity. 20 years of a dead-end life, and just when he finally awakened, was it all going to end here? Gritting his teeth, Lin Fan staggered back to his feet. Rage, humiliation, helplessness. They ignited something inside him. Something wild. With a roar, he grabbed a nearby brick and smashed it down on 003's head. For one brief second, he thought, maybe it worked. But the only response was a single devastating punch. The impact sent him flying dozens of meters through the air. As he crashed into the ground, pain racking his body, the truth hit him harder than the monster's fist. He was no match, not even close, just another helpless prey waiting to die. His vision blurred. Consciousness began to slip away. And in those fading moments, all he could remember was overtime. Endless overtime. Gritting his teeth, Lin Fan growled, "I finally had a shot at something different. Even if I die right now, I'll rip a piece off you before I go." The rampaging Beast 003 suddenly flinched and released him. Lin Fan gasped for air, but his body refused to move. Just then, the black orb in his palm began to spin and absorb the chunk of flesh torn from the creature. Deep inside his inner world, a swarm of rhinoceros beetles lifted their heads in unison. Something had stirred them. As 003's blood and tissue dissolved into the black light, the beetles began to morph, rapidly, visibly. In mere seconds, they evolved into monstrous hybrids, part demon, part insect. In the real world, Lin Fan felt the surge, an unbearable heat building inside him, bursting at the seams. 003 stared at him, eyes wide in disbelief. Lin Fan rose, slow and steady, his presence utterly transformed. 003 didn't hesitate. It lunged, striking without mercy. But Lin Fan was already behind it. He could feel the power coursing through him, unrelenting, alive. And when 003's attack came, Lin Fan dodged it like it was nothing. Without giving 003 a chance to react, Lin Fan channeled every last ounce of strength into his fist. The scene mirrored what had happened before, but this time, the roles were reversed. The prey had become the predator. His punch landed clean. 003 crashed to the ground, unmoving. Instead of cheering, Lin Fan just stared up at the sky and groaned. Seriously? She ran off and didn't even bother to call the cops. I'm bleeding like a stuck pig. Even a cow would have dropped dead by now. Just as his vision began to blur and he felt himself fading, sirens wailed in the distance. Turns out, that girl had gone back and actually did call for help. Meanwhile, the three-man squad from the bureau finally showed up. Late, of course. They scanned the area, convinced some hidden expert had taken care of things. But when they asked the police, they got a surprise. Nope. No one else here but that guy and whatever that was. Lin Fan's consciousness sank once more into the black glowing realm inside him. He looked around, stunned that it wasn't just beetles and spiders anymore. A full-blown ecosystem had begun to form. Yet all the creatures inside still reproduced the same way. Simple cell division. Copy after copy. Lin Fan scratched his head in wonder. What if I threw in some mammal cells? Would these things evolve gender? Just as Lin Fan was mentally debating whether to throw mammal DNA into his inner ecosystem, he was dragged back to reality by voices near his hospital beat. IT was the bureau's trio, deep in discussion. The blonde guy grinned. Gotta admit, kid had guts charging him like that. But Sumu, the guy with glasses, scoffed. Guts? That was pure recklessness. If it weren't for that mystery figure showing up, he'd be dead 800 times over. Lin Fan, still pretending to sleep, twitched at that line. Wait, what mystery figure? Before he could process it, Sumu kicked the side of the bed. Quit faking. We know you're awake. Lin Fan groaned and sat up, only for Captain Li Junming to grab him by the collar. What the hell were you thinking? Li barked. Don't go playing superhero just because you got lucky once. Lin Fan blinked, totally thrown off. Okay, I get it. No more solo acts. But inside, he was grumbling. So I take down 003 myself and get no bounty? And there was still that little issue with the black orb in his palm. Nope. No one could know about that. He clenched his jaw and swallowed his frustration. Just then, chaos broke out in front of the hospital. Screams echoed through the crowd. Xiao Xiao, I love while you. A hyper-limited edition supercar rolled up, its door lifting open to reveal a woman. The moment she stepped out, the crowd exploded. Flashes, screams, reporters, mayhem. When asked who she was visiting, the woman smiled sweetly. I'm here to see a friend. Lin Fan. That woman was none other than the national goddess herself. Idol of the masses, crush of half the city, and unofficial hospital mascot. The only issue? Lin Fan had absolutely zero connection to her. Or, so he thought. The door burst open and in walked Xiao Xianqing. Lin Fan didn't even lift his head. You got the wrong room, lady. She smiled calmly. Nope, you're exactly who I'm here for. With a wave, her bodyguard stepped out. The room fell silent. Xiao Xianqing walked up, placed a hand on his shoulder. I work under Li Junming, she said. I'm one of the Bureau's 6 ability users. And I heard someone decided to pick a fight with a C-class ghost body. On his first day, then, without warning, she leaned down and kissed him. Pulling back, she whispered into his ear, and now, let me tell you something, only core agents get to hear this. The moment Xiao Xianqing whispered the intel, Lin Fan didn't even wait. He jumped straight out the hospital window. If what she said was true, then Li Junming and the others were already in danger. Because the real problem with this case wasn't the escaped spirits. It was that one of them was a spirit serpent from the Ming dynasty. And that thing was no joke. At that very moment, Lin Fan's mind plunged back into his spiritual world. A horde of escaped spirits burst in, tearing through the void. Sensing a viable host, they charged at him like lunatics. But to their horror, Lin Fan didn't get possessed, he devoured them instead. He snapped awake, panting, thought it was just another nightmare. Little did he know, his inner ghost body had already begun to evolve. Following the address Xiao Xianxin gave him, Lin Fan jumped off the ride in a hurry and soon spotted another bureau agent waiting near an old-school building, Zhou Lei. And for the first time, he felt it. Energy fluctuation. The three kids standing nearby. Yeah, definitely not normal. Then another agent, Jing Gao, handed Lin Fan a delivery from Xianxin. He opened it, took one look, and just stood there numb. You've got to be kidding me. I'm undercover as a 24-year-old high school student? Just as Lin Fan was getting his bearings, Zhou Lei suddenly reached out. Hey, can I borrow some money? They'd literally just met. No trust, no bond. Lin Fan didn't even hesitate. Nope. Wen Lan quickly stepped in. Wait, it's not for us. It's for our friend, Tang Yao. Her dad racked up a huge gambling debt. If they don't pay it back today, her whole family's screwed. Lin Fan sighed. Sure, it sounded tragic, but he knew one thing for sure. People who fall into gambling rarely crawl back out. Zhou Lei snapped. Fine, screw you then. She turned on her heel and stormed off, dragging Wen Lan with her. The two girls headed straight toward Tang Yao's house. The moment they were out of sight, Lin Fan got moving too. As much as he tried to stay out of it, he couldn't. Not completely. Jing Gao offered to tag along. I can help. Just say the word. But Lin Fan shook his head. People who run gambling dens, they're not just thugs. They own this city. Truth was, he didn't want dead weight slowing him down. Back in his inner world, Lin Fan had already discovered a troubling truth. Ghost body cells could coexist inside him, but they couldn't truly merge. In most cases, those genes remained dormant, asleep. Only when fully activated would he shift into his ghost body form. Unlike the sharp and agile spirit type, or the balanced medium type, the ghost body was unhinged, pure rage. And when it did awaken, its raw power wasn't something low-tier scum could even dream of handling. But they were too late. Tang Yao's mother had already signed a paper. She'd sold her daughter for 2 million yuan. To a gambling kingpin. Tears streamed down Tang Yao's face. But it wasn't the knife in the blonde thug's hand that terrified her. It was human nature. Then, suddenly, the screech of tires shattered the silence. Zhou Lei and the others came rushing in, clutching a wad of borrowed, begged, and stolen cash. They begged to buy back the contract. But they didn't know the money they brought? Not even enough to cover the interest. Zhou Lei's anger hit the roof. She was ready to scream the whole thing to the world. But Tang Yao's mother stepped in, blocking her. You'd better stay out of this, she warned coldly. 2 million yuan is salvation for our family. Even if it costs me my daughter. She spat the words like venom, blaming people like Zhou Lei, entitled brats who've never tasted real desperation. What she didn't know was they weren't rich girls at all. The Bureau had only given them temporary fake identities because of their abilities. Zhou Lei's fists clenched. She was about to grab that contract by force. When suddenly, the smell of grilled meat filled the air. Lin Fan was just casually sitting off to the side, barbecuing. The thugs froze. Blondie sneered. All right, if Tang's mom won't play along, we'll deal with you instead. 3 of them moved in. The big guy swung. An iron chain wrapped around his massive fist. The punch landed clean and direct. Then he dropped, unconscious, and the iron chain shattered. The reason that massive punch didn't even leave a bruise, Lin Fan's rhinoceros beetle defense. Even a diamond press wouldn't do more than scratch the surface. And then his eyes, they burned with pure, killing intent. Blondie straight up pissed himself, but he thought of the monster above his food chain and shakily raised his knife. Terrified, but still desperate, Lin Fan just grinned, reached up, and slowly pulled a toothpick from between his teeth. With a flick of his fingers, it launched like a bullet. Whack! The barbecue shop's metal sign now had a perfect hole right in the center. Blondie turned green. He grabbed the unconscious fat guy and ran like his life depended on it, because it did. Lin Fan just sat back down. More skewers, please. Add extra kidney. Tang Yao said nothing. But her mom exploded. You idiot. We lost everything. No money. And now the casino will come for blood. Lin Fan raised an eyebrow. Me? I didn't do anything. I just stopped by for some snacks. Couple thugs thought I looked beatable. That's self-defense. Tang's mom dropped to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. But Lin Fan's gaze was cold as ice. He'd already figured it out. The one who sold Tang Yao was her dad. But the 2 million payout? That went straight to mom's personal account. Tang's mom froze, face pale. Truth stripped her clean. Tang's mom stumbled into the kitchen, threw herself at Tang Yao's feet, clutching her hands. Please, if this deal falls through, your father is as good as dead. Tang Yao's tears fell again, bitter, helpless, and no matter how hard she fought, she couldn't escape the fate of being sold. After a long pause, she wiped her eyes and nodded. I'll do it. She stepped outside, but Lin Fan and the others were already gone, the car disappearing into the night. Only one thing remained, a golden savings card quietly left behind on the table. Later that night, Zhou Lele charged at Lin Fan, furious, fists flying. She punched him again and again. Lin Fan didn't flinch. She still didn't get it. Still thought this was some fairy tale. He finally exploded. I didn't want to make a scene. You think giving her money would magically fix everything? That she'd walk away safe and clean? The ones who sold her out were her own damn parents. Just then, Jing Gao caught up with them. I tracked Blondie and his crew. They ended up at the Jiehua Club. It's probably their base. Lin Fan was about to check it out when Tang Yao appeared, calm and composed. I'm just here to return something. When they saw it was the golden savings card, Zhou Lele immediately frowned. You wouldn't lend me a cent when I asked nicely. And now this? Lin Fan sighed. That wasn't my money that I borrowed it from Li Zhiming. Didn't even get to fight anything before falling into debt. Tang Yao's eyes dimmed. That made it even worse. She definitely couldn't accept it. To avoid argument, she lied. My mom paid the money back. All of it. Lin Fan gave her a nod. Good. If it's settled, no need to drag this out. He turned and left. No one looked back. None of them saw Tang Yao pause. Then quietly dial a number. Come pick me up, she said. A black car pulled up in the rain. Tang Yao placed her phone gently in a puddle that she'd made up her mind. She would never burden her friends again. But Lin Fan had seen it coming from the start. He and Jing Gao had staked out the Jiehua Club, lying in wait. And sure enough, Tang Yao had accepted the deal. The two split up. Lin Fan would go in alone. Jing Gao stayed outside for backup. Cut to Lin Fan lounging inside one of the club's private VIP rooms. He casually slapped a golden bank card onto the table, loaded with 200,000 yuan. In came a parade of beautiful women, each one dressed to impress. But no matter who walked in, Lin Fan barely spared them a glance before muttering. Next. After a while, the hostess had had enough. She waved the girls away in frustration, then picked up her radio, send in security. Lin Fan smirked that he lifted one foot and smashed the VIP table into splinters, pissing them off. That was all part of the plan. The tank top thug lunged at Lin Fan, but Lin Fan sidestepped effortlessly. His fist shot out like lightning, slamming hard into the guy's gut. The thug folded like a chair. The two goons behind him froze in place, completely stunned. Lin Fan didn't hesitate. He whipped out the umbrella he'd been carrying and launched into a flurry of jabs, stabbing wildly like he was fencing in a storm. In seconds, all three were on the ground, moaning in pain. Lin Fan calmly flipped the umbrella around and locked it around the tank top guy's throat. Take me to your boss. Now. Meanwhile, in the club surveillance room, the man in charge, Scarface, watched Lin Fan closely. He recognized the bureau uniform, but not the face. Then Blondie, still trembling, pointed at Tang Yao on the floor. That's him. That's the psycho from the barbecue joint. So be it. Scarface grinned darkly. Old debts, new grudges. Let's settle everything tonight. He crouched down, grabbing Tang Yao by the hair, fully expecting to squeeze some answers out of her, but she refused. Not a word. Not that it mattered. In his eyes, the outcome was already decided. With a sick smile, he leaned in and ran his tongue across her cheek, then opened his mouth, unleashing a wave of pure, corrupted ghost energy. It surged around his body, thick and suffocating. Even the air seemed to distort under its weight. Before her eyes, he transformed into a high-tier ghost form, one pulsing with sinister power. He loomed over her, voice filled with twisted delight. Born in the year, hour, and minute of Een, you are prime spirit nourishment, a rarity. Devouring you would grant me over 100 years of power. His grin widened. But first, you must say it. Swear loyalty, willingly, body and soul. For the first time, Lin Fan unleashed his full ghost body combat form, his skin instantly armored in a shimmering layer of rare serpent scale plating. His defense skyrocketed, and with it, the killer instincts of a cold-blooded predator. But across from him, his opponent, a smug man in a tailored suit, just laughed. "Snake class," he sneered. "You're looking at an Eagle-class power user, master of the skies. Even if God himself descended, he couldn't rewrite the food chain." In the rounds that followed, Lin Fan was pushed to the brink, unable to land a clean hit. But he didn't panic. Sure, eagles are fast, but you hit like a toddler. He grinned, taunting, "You sure you don't need some traditional medicine? Go pop a few herbal supplements, old man." That did it. The air exploded into wind and chaos. The suit's eyes narrowed, and no more holding back. His wings flared wide, and with one savage flap, sent slicing shockwaves tearing across Lin Fan's body. Seeing the tide turn, the eagle user smirked. Time to end this. He lunged forward, ready to strike the killing blow. Completely unaware, he just walked in a Lin Fan's trap. Lin Fan smirked. Now, what happens when you mix in a little spider DNA? Suddenly, your sky god status drops to, I don't know, mosquito level. The suit's face twisted in rage. That's impossible. A snake can't spit webs. That's not how it works. Lin Fan shrugged, hands in his pockets. Did I ever say I was snake class? That was your theory, not mine. And you ran with it. With the suited thug dealt with, Lin Fan made his way deeper into the casino, toward the lair of the final boss. But even before he reached the door, the pressure leaking from inside hit him like a freight train. Whatever was in there made that eagle type look like a joke, at least 10 times stronger. Maybe more. Playing it safe, he quickly pinged his location to Li Junming. A call for backup. Just then, a voice screamed from inside the room. Lin Fan, no, don't come in. You'll die. It's not worth it, not for me. That's when it clicked. The enemy already knew everything. His abilities, his habits, his fighting style. He hadn't even decided whether to fight or flee. When suddenly, boom, a thunderous crash shook the hallway. A dark figure stepped out from the smoke, his body wreathing ghostly aura, the pressure unbearable. The man smirked. I am the one you've been hunting, little agent, target 003. Lin Fan exhaled sharply. Figures. Just my luck. But a monster like you. That's exactly the kind I signed up to stop. And with that, he charged in, fist raised high, ready to strike first. But the gap between them was too wide. 003's speed was dozens of times faster than Lin Fan's. Lin Fan's punch didn't even graze him. And in overreaching, he left himself wide open. With a smirk, 003 slammed his fist straight into Lin Fan's chest. The serpent scale armor shattered instantly. From inside the room, Tang Yao screamed, "Stop! You can't win. Just run. Leave me." But Lin Fan clenched his fists, teeth gritted. I've come too far to turn back now. I promised Lele I'd bring you home. 003 narrowed his eyes. You bureau clowns are all the same. Always behind, always weak, the dust eaters. But mid-taunt, 003's expression suddenly twisted. He felt it. Li Junming and the others were coming. Fast. Damn it. If those three show up, I might not walk out of here. Fine, let's end this. He roared, unleashing his full power. Crack, crack, crack. Frost erupted across the floor, racing up Lin Fan's legs. until his entire body was sealed in solid ice. But 003 didn't finish him off. No, a body like yours, you're the perfect host. But then, the ice began to splinter, a surge of energy burst outward from within. Lin Fan shattered the freeze, he broke free. Lin Fan lunged, his hand grabbing 003 by the hair in a split-second strike. This was the moment he'd been waiting for. Without hesitation, he slammed 003's head hard against his own. It connected. Solid hit. But for an S-Class ghost, it barely registered. With a snarl, 003 retaliated. Ice spikes erupted from his back, launching toward Lin Fan. Lin Fan didn't stand his ground, he retreated, weaving back. Using spider silk, he swung across the room, dodging like a phantom. And every so often, he fired a web, just enough to throw off 003's aim. The hit-and-run tactics pushed 003 over the edge. Enough, he screamed, unleashing his full frost domain. The room flash froze. Ice coated every surface. But Lin Fan kept weaving, firing more webs. Deliberately off-angle, zigzagged, inconsistent, until the whole place was draped in shimmering spider silk. 003 growled, fist clenched. This game is over. He raised his hand for the killing blow. But Lin Fan, he lit a lighter. Actually, Lin Fan smirked. This whole thing, my setup. Fire beats ice, and web makes the perfect fuse. Click, the flames ignited, and in seconds, the entire room erupted in fire. 003 staggered back, his power suppressed by the heat. And Lin Fan, he stood tall because reinforcements were almost here. Just before vanishing, 003 threw one last glare over his shoulder. Don't get cocky. Today was luck. Next time you see me, I won't be wearing this face. With that, his figure faded into the smoke and flame. Moments later, the ceiling's fire suppression system kicked in, rainwater pouring down from above. Lin Fan exhaled sharply. He'd timed it perfectly. Even a second late, and he might have gone up with the blaze. He shook off the soot and blood, then slung Tang Yao over his back. He made his way to the rooftop, where Jing Gao was already waiting. After catching his breath, he looked at her and asked, "Why does he want you so badly?" Tang Yao blinked, still dazed, memories jumbled and scattered. He said, "I'm some kind of rare body. If he devours me, he gains 100 years of power." Lin Fan's expression hardened. Now he knew 003's true goal, and there was no way he'd let that go. After a long pause, he looked at her seriously. "You've got two options. 1, go into protection, live a quiet life, or 2, stay with me. Train, fight, but it's going to be dangerous." Tang Yao met his eyes, not a flicker of doubt. "I'm done hiding this time. I'll fight too." Suddenly, sirens wailed from below. Lin Fan exchanged a few quick words with Jing Gao, then quietly slipped away, carrying Tang Yao in his arms. Moments later, Li Zhiming's team arrived at the scene. What greeted them was devastation, a room torn to pieces. The only thing left behind was a faint trace of energy in the air. In the corner, they found a suited man hanging from the ceiling, tangled in spider silk. Sumu stepped forward, scanned his ID tag. "It's Lu Wei, B rank, beast-type ability user. Escaped our custody 3 times." Just then, Li Zhiming crouched beside a shimmering shard of ice on the floor. He picked it up, gave it a quick taste. His eyes narrowed. It's in point 003 was here. Su Mu's face darkened. If Lin Fan ran into him, he didn't finish. No1 needed him to. After the scene was secured, the local police handed Lu Wei over to the bureau. Li Zhiming wasted no time. "Who's your boss? How many are in your group? What's your goal? And where's the guy who beat you?" But Lu Wei had training. His expression was blank. Not a word. Li's face darkened. He reached out. With a slight squeeze, Lu Wei collapsed to his knees, face contorted in agony, like his insides were being crushed. After a few moments of brutal silence, he finally cracked. "My boss is 003. That kid, Lin Fan, Escape that I don't know about any organization. I'm just a hired hand. Sumu quickly monitored his vitals. Pulse, brain activity, all stable that he wasn't lying. Fine, Lee said coldly. Then we'll take him back. He's got more to say. But suddenly, an explosive surge of power erupted from a nearby rooftop. A shadowy figure emerged, with wings unfurling from his back. Before anyone could react, he launched a strike directly at the team. The attack didn't threaten Lee's squad, but Lu Wei was instantly skewered by razor-sharp feathers, dead on the spot. No doubt, the attacker came here for one reason, to silence him. Now, the only thing they had left was whatever memories could still be extracted from Lu Wei's corpse. After fending off 003, Lin Fan brought Tang Yao back to the old barbecue shop. Knowing ghost attacks could happen again, he turned to her and said, "Why not stay at my place for a while? That way, he could protect her 24/7. And hey, her special body type could lure in low-level ghosts, which meant some extra income." But Tang Yao didn't quite get all that. Her brain went straight to something else. Face bright red, she stammered. "Okay, I guess that's fine." They weren't even on the same page. Lin Fan was thinking business. Tang Yao, full-on romantic drama. Seeing her agree so fast, Lin Fan grinned. "Cool. Let's move tomorrow. That way your parents can focus on running the barbecue shop, safely point two birds, one stone." Tang Yao still felt a little guilty, but with her parents safe and Lin Fan watching her back, this was clearly the best choice. Meanwhile, Jing Gao was en route to regroup with Lin Fan. But halfway there, he picked up a sudden, intense surge of ghost energy. Without hesitation, he ditched the car and raced toward the source, the coastline. And there it was, a rotting, monstrous Birang ghost, heading straight for a crowded cruise ship. Sand was Jing Gao's domain, and this was his beach. Confident in his advantage, he didn't call for backup. He attacked first. The ghost screeched in fury as the strike landed, and instantly redirected its wrath. Target acquired. Jing Gao. The beast charged from ashore, sprinting straight at him. Jing stomped the ground, and the sand surged up, trapping the ghost in a swirling prison. He smirked. Perfect execution. Game over. But he didn't expect the ghost to be a dissolver type. With rain pouring from the sky, the sand became heavy, sluggish. The trap fell apart. The ghost roared forward, unfazed. Jing tried to summon a sand shield, but the waterlogged grains moved too slow. The ghost reformed, its true form emerging in full. And then, wham, a massive spiked tail smashed into Jing Gao, launching him like a ragdoll into the cliffside. Jing Gao staggered to his feet, his right arm twisted and broken. He still wanted to fight, but his sand-forming ability was gone. The entire area around him, soaked through by the rain, not a single grain of dry sand in sight. He bit his lip bitterly. If I just trained harder, maybe I'd have unlocked the deeper nature powers like Captain Lee. Now, powerless, he could only watch as the ghost advanced, ready to tear him apart. Meanwhile, back at Bureau HQ, Elder Jiang sat frozen, a strange chill crawling up his spine. Something was very wrong. Li Jiming noticed immediately. Sumu scanned for nearby energy signatures. Sumu's face paled. It's Jing Gao. His vitals are plummeting. But before he could say another word, Elder Jiang had already grabbed his coat and was racing out the door alone. Meanwhile, Lin Fan suddenly sensed a sharp pulse of ghost energy, and buried within it was Jing Gao's aura. That a wave of dread surged through him. Without hesitation, he launched forward, spider silk propelling him at full speed. But when he arrived, he was too late. The ghost was crouched over Jing Gao, ravenously feeding on his internal organs. Lin Fan's eyes blazed. "You sick freak. Even your ancestors should be ashamed of you." He leapt and brought his fist crashing down. Boom! The ghost's body exploded into gore and slime. But its dissolve-type nature let it survive, splitting into multiple chunks that continued to move. Now, surrounded from all sides, Lin Fan was forced into a chaotic melee. And then a voice, weak but clear, "Jing Gao. Lin Fan, go. Forget me. It's over, don't die for a man who's already dead. But Lin Fan, he still refused to give up. With spider silk, he hoisted Jing Gao onto his back. If he could make it to the nearest hospital in time, maybe, just maybe, there was still a chance. But the ghost kept coming, and the rain never let up. Lin Fan clenched his jaw, running won't cut it. So instead, he ducked beneath a bridge and prepared for war. He set Jing Gao gently in the corner, then quickly spun hundreds of web traps, lacing them around the area with precise placement. Then he stood dead center, waiting, luring. The cost, he'd have to take the first hit head on. Lin Fan smirked, teeth gleaming. Come on, freak, let's see who the real predator is. The ghost finally sensed something was wrong. But too late, the web snapped shut, trapping it in a cocoon of silk. Without rain, its dissolvability completely failed. And just like that, the hunter was mummified. But Lin Fan himself wasn't doing much better. Blood loss took its toll, his vision blurred, and he collapsed. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself inside his inner world once more. Strange, the sky above began to rain blood. From the deep forests, the beetle folk came pouring out. They dropped to their knees, worshipping the heavens for this sacred gift. Meanwhile, the shadowlings, the black little beings, were soaked in the crimson rain. Their skin began to peel, their forms changed. Eyes were no longer their only feature. Mouths began to form. Some even awakened new powers, the ability to manipulate soil with sheer thought. Lin Fan's eyes widened. That's Jing Gao's power. He understood immediately. The black hole had absorbed Jing Gao's blood and triggered a new evolution in this world. Now, the shadowlings looked more human. They built with tools. They had begun to form civilization. Lin Fan watched it all unfold. His heart warmed. They had taken the next step, but whether they'd reached the modern age was up to them. As his mind returned to reality, Lin Fan slowly opened his eyes. He was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to medical equipment. On a nearby monitor, the screen flashed a single word: status, Jing Gao, deceased. Captain Li Zhenming entered, face stone cold. What exactly is your ability, Lin Fan? Lin Fan stayed silent for a moment, then simply whispered, I'm sorry. That set Li off. Sorry? How much have you been hiding? You saved Tang Yao and still didn't report back. Why? Just then, Zhou Lele stepped forward, voice shaking with fury. Yes, Jing Gao's gone, but Lin Fan nearly died trying to save lives. She grabbed Li's collar, eyes blazing. And that ghost? It escaped because of your department's screw-up. So why the hell are you blaming him now? Li Zhenming, as captain, understood loss better than anyone that he didn't want to blame Lin Fan, but he needed answers. But Zhou Lele hated the way he acted like a prison warden, interrogating a man who just survived hell. Without another word, she slammed the door behind her and stormed out. Lin Fan let out a long sigh. No more lies. That night, I saw the black light that IT gave me a power to absorb anything and evolve from it. Last night, I absorbed Jing Gao's blood, and I gained his ability to control sand. Li Zhenming didn't reply at first. Then, after a long silence, power isn't the problem. Control is. You want to survive this world of ghosts? Master just one thing and master it fully. It's the only way to protect those around you and save the people who still need saving. As for your next step, I've already arranged it that you'll be attending new recruit training. 1 month from now, the scene shifts. Old Jiang stands silently before Jing Gao's grave. His voice trembles. I lied to you, and I hate myself for it. Years ago, Jing Gao had awakened his ability, but the official report from the recruit camp said, ineligible, too weak for combat. When Lan stepped beside him, gaze soft. If that were true, then why is his name carved here, among the heroes of the Bureau? She looked at the stone, her fingers brushing the engraved letters. The world we live in now, ghosts don't just haunt us, they threaten everything. And for those of us with powers, death is always one step behind. That is our fate.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you liked this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.